Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be making this unicorn card. Happy summer. I'm on a rainbow kick. I just think they bring so much joy and happiness and kind of a symbol of hope. So I've been kind of incorporating rainbows into a lot of my card makings lately just to bring a little sunshine to people's mailboxes. But we're going to focus first on this unicorn. Here's the unicorn and the watermelon. They're from two separate sets. This is Lawn Fawn and this is Gerda Designs. I'll link those in the information below. And what we're going to do is color these. And the first thing I'm going to color is the unicorn. And I am keeping this coloring very, very simple. And the reason I decided to make this video is that unfortunately the unicorn here is scheduled for some surgery. He needs a little bit of surgery in order for him to hold. Look at the gap in his hands and look at the watermelon. So we're going to have to do a little bit of stamp or unicorn surgery here to help our buddy out because he cannot pick up the watermelon as is. And this is C1. And I'm just going along the edges and in the deepest parts. Now, right here is where the watermelon's going to sit. We don't need to really focus on that. I'm just going to put a little bit on his legs. And remember, he's going to be holding that watermelon, so they need to be a little darker. And then I'm going to come in with my C-double-O and just flick this in. I want my unicorn to look white. I'm just adding in a little bit of shadow here, softening this line a little bit. Might go back in and darken his paws up. Now, if you don't have these colors, you can use any color because unicorns can be any color of the rainbow. A while ago I made a yellow unicorn, which I really liked. But my favorite, and I was tempted to do it this time around, was a really light blue. Thought it made him look a little bit more magical, and I put some glitter on him. That was for another card I made a while ago, but today I decided to do white because I wanted the contrast with the colors and the word happy. Okay, so we have the body of our unicorn done. And I decided to do his paws in blue. I'm going to use just two really light shades of blue, B01 and B00. Again, very simple coloring. I decided to do this because I didn't want, like if I colored a horse, I usually make their hooves brown or black, but I just didn't feel like that was right for the unicorn. So there you go. And then now we're going to do his hair, and his hair is a little bit of advanced blending, but I tried to keep this super simple, so if you're new to Copics you can follow along. But I started up at the horn, and with my red I'm going to flick down and add a little bit of color. And because red is such a hard color to work with, I'm going to come in with pink. I'm going to use my pink to kind of transition. So I'm coming in with R32 and extending that down. And you really want to make sure you're using flick so that you're able to pull those colors together. And now I'm going to kind of flick back in with the orange from this standpoint. And I'm just making some decisions here on putting a little bit of dark orange at that tip. And then I'm going to come in with my yellow, and I'm debating about Y15 or Y13. I'm going to start with 13 because I can always go darker. And I'm going to do Y15 to be a little darker. And yellow is the easiest of colors to work with. And now I'm going to go in with YG13 for my green. I'm going to leave that out. I might use that again. And I'm going to use my B01. And I'm trying to decide here. So let's take, for his tail, I want to incorporate some purple. So I have V15 and V12. And I'm going to start at the bottom of his tail with the darker purple now and flick up towards his body. Now some of this might get covered up with the watermelon, but I'm going to color all of it because I don't want whites to be showing underneath my watermelon. And I think I am going to take a little bit of this B and just put it there. Again, I don't know how much of that will show, but there. So we now have our rainbow. We've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. And maybe you could argue that that blue and purple together are indigo. So we didn't need this again. I have R30. I'm going to come in here and do a little bit in here with his ears. And I decided to kind of give him a little bit of... So I used R30 to add a little bit of blush and then just to soften the edges here a little bit. I probably should have done this before, but I didn't really think of it. I'm just taking my C00 and going over it just to soften it. I don't want you to think he's got a rash on his face. So I think that's okay. So the only thing we have left to color on this guy is his horn. And to do that, I want it to look gold is kind of what I thought. So I'm taking Y02 and I'm going to color in the whole horn. And then I'm going to take Y35, which is kind of like a honey color. And I'm going to flick this in over the Y2. And I think this kind of adds like a golden feel to it. If you have like a gold gel pen or sparkles of some kind, that would be kind of cool to add that as well. All right, so now we're going to set our unicorn aside to dry, and now we have our watermelon. To do the watermelon, I'm choosing to use the same reds I used in the unicorn, just to kind of pull it all together. So I have R35, R32, and R30. And here I decided that it was going to be darker at the rind or at the bottom of the rind. So I'm going to follow that around, just doing little flicks. And then push that color up with R32. Now, I don't know why, maybe, I don't know what realistic, but for some reason I felt like it should be darker right there. And then I could use R30 to pull that color in so that my center of my watermelon would be where the highlight is. So I don't have a real good reason other than that's just the way I wanted. So I'm going to come back in with my R35 because it got pushed back or blended out so much, and I want it to look red. Reds are a harder color to work with, and a lot of times you have to do this back and forth, blending with them to get the shades that you want. So we're just going through our steps twice here until we get the look that we like. And I actually think I like that. That looks really nice. Just kind of extending and shading a little bit. And then for the rind, I decided that YG67 is a really, really nice, pretty green. I'm using that at the very edges of it. And then I'm going to take my YG17 and pull that color down. And finish it up with YG13. So there we go, we have our watermelon. All right, our next step is going to be to cut this out, and I'll do this off screen so that you don't have to watch all that part. All right, so now that we have these cut out, we have to do a little bit of unicorn surgery. And what we're going to do is go in, let's do this side first, it's a little bit easier. And we're going to cut off his hoof. And remember, everything that we're doing is going to be hidden behind the watermelon, but just don't lose your pieces. So we have our little hoof from this side, and then I'm going to go in on this side. Now I want to make sure I'm getting the curvature, because see how his leg kind of curves up. We want that so it looks like he's holding something. So the person who drew this stamp made it to look like he was going to hold something. I think they intended him to hold a cup of coffee. I'm not really sure, but we're gonna, like I said, modify this for some watermelon. So there we go. So this is what we end up with, and our watermelon's going to sit here. Now I was looking back at my original and I actually forgot that I did this. I decided that, could you hold a piece of watermelon and not take a bite? I didn't think so. Either can our little unicorn friend. So what I'm going to do here, and this is optional, you don't have to do this if this is like, oh my God, freaks you out, is I'm just going to dig in, and this is random, and take out a little bite. Okay, this little piece that we cut out, we can put into our little trash pile. We don't need that anymore. I'm going to take a black marker, and to make it look like the stamp always looked that way, I'm going to run this across where I just cut. And then it's going to give it that black edge that the rest of the stamp has, making it believable that he took a bite out of that. Now, I might do that to the side of this unicorn's arm too. Perfect. So now we can start putting this guy together. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue right here on his belly. And then I'm going to set the watermelon right where I want it to go, like he's taking a bite out of it. Then on the back of his paws, I'm putting a little bit dab of glue, and I'm going to line this up to make it look like the side of his paw goes off the side of that watermelon. So I'm putting just a drop of glue on the back of the paw or his hoof. And there you go. Now we have a unicorn holding a watermelon, and no one is the wiser as to what's underneath. Now this needs to set aside and dry. While this is drying, I got my black glaze pen out. As if you watch my videos, you know that this is like a favorite thing of mine. I feel like his eyes kind of need a little something, so I'm coming in and I'm going to darken up his eyes with the glaze pen. This takes about a minute to dry, so now I can push this aside and I can work on the rest of my card. While our unicorn is drying, I got out a piece of scrap paper and the letters that will help us make up the word happy. Now I am going to choose to sponge these. However, if you don't have inks at home, one thing you can do is use your markers. Just go ahead and color right on the letter. This is just faster, and I do the coloring thing a lot, so I wanted to switch it up and do something different. So here we go. I'm adding a little bit of red to the H, just carrying that rainbow theme throughout. But you could do this lots of different ways to add some color. The easiest way would be to use your markers. Now I feel like my orange is a little bit darker than my red, so I'm going back in with my red just to blend them together a little bit and kind of match the intensity there. Really, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. You could always leave out a color or whatever, and any type of ink, any brand of ink will work for this. At least I have not found any issue. I have several brands of ink I'm using to do this. I just pulled out the colors I wanted. I didn't focus so much on who made it. And the last thing I decided I wanted to do, and I debated this, was do I add sparkle to the letters or the sparkle to the unicorn? And in the end, I felt like the letters were the better choice. So I am just taking my glitter pen. This is a Spectrum Noir, and I'm just coating the letters with a layer of glitter, letting them dry. Just so, and this, I like this because this is such a soft, not in your face kind of glitter. So now we can let these dry, and all we have to do is put our card together. I already die cut my white panel with the wonky stitch die. I used the word summer to stamp onto the white panel so that in the end we'll have happy summer. And now we can assemble. Also going to add a little bit of foam on the back of my unicorn. As you can see, this is left over. I don't get the foam for this project. So I like this system because it's very cost effective, and I think that the foam holds up really well in the mail. Okay, perfect. So now we have all of our pieces ready to go. Oh, I have a thumbprint. Oh, all right, I'll work on that. I have a little thumbprint on my panel. I'm just going to lay the pieces out and have them where I want to go. The one thing I learned was that these letters are very large, so I needed to overlap the unicorn a little bit with the letters to make it all fit. So I highly recommend that when you do this project that you look at your letters and try to have them spaced. You want to look at the H and the Y and make sure they're spaced evenly from the edge of the white, and then kind of use those to kind of do the rest of your spacing of your cards. You could use a ruler. I am not quite that anal. I don't have to have it that perfect, so I don't need that. Now I can just put some glue on the back of these, and we'll have our finished card. Well, that completes our unicorn card. I was able to buff out the fingerprint using the sand eraser. God, these things are a lifesaver. I don't know what we did before this. It saved so many cards. I hope you learned something doing our surgery to kind of expand your stamps, getting a little bit more use out of them. You can't even tell that that wasn't the original intent for the unicorn to hold a watermelon. What a wonderful idea. I would love to hear from you. Leave me a comment. If you like and subscribe, that really helps keep the momentum going, helps me continue to be inspired to make more videos. I appreciate that. Have a great weekend wherever you are, and I look forward to seeing you next time.